Hello friends, welcome to CareersTalk. My name is Manish Sharma, an agile consultant based in Netherlands. And today we are going to have a real interview with a candidate. She is working for one of the largest service-based companies with 12 years of total IT experience. And from the last 5 years, she has been working as a business analyst, and now she wants to switch. So friends, if you also want to test your knowledge and actually feel the pressure of a real interview, you can connect with me. We provide both free and paid options. For paid options, you can schedule a call with the help of TopNet link. And for free options, you can email me or you can connect me on a LinkedIn. So friends, before we start, if you are new here, please do subscribe. We have tons of valuable content for business analysts. Even we created a free live 8 hours course for business analysts. So you can check the playlist. I will put the link in the description. And if you like the session, please smash that like button. And without further delay, let's start it. So welcome, Deepa. Why don't you tell me about yourself a little bit, about your current project and your role and responsibility as a business analyst?
Sure, Sandan. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So basically, I have close to 12 years of experience, of which more than around close to 7 years of experience into business analysis. I have been working in different domains like e-commerce, travel domains, recruitment industry, and all those things. So as a business analyst, I deal with the entire almost SDLC life cycle. I work in a service-based company, as you mentioned. Yeah. So this is a short introduction.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. Let me just check your resume. Okay, so let's start from this. So let's say when you're starting a new project. So how do you define the measurable success criteria for a business requirement?
Sure. So first of all, before we even talk about the requirements gathering, as we all know, there has to be a business need that has to be assessed, right? Like the top management or the leadership people are going to look into that. And after that, once we are into the requirement gathering phase, first of all, it is very important as a business analyst to know what to ask to whom. So stakeholder identification and analysis is like a prerequisite step before we even pitch into requirements gathering. So once we do that, right, first, what are the business requirements, what are the functional, non-functional requirements, and then what are the user actions, what are the different levels of users that can access the system, and what should be the system response. So all these things has to be recorded, right? And how I'm going to define the success criteria is something like, where am I in the project? Is this a completely new project all about, or am I in the middle of an existing project? All these things comes into picture. Let's talk about a new project. Let's take that example. So let's say the process is manual. I want to automate the process. That's what the pain point of the customer is. Or let's say they have to.
Can you slow down? You are so fast. Can you slow down?
Okay. Let's say they have to cut down the cost, their operations cost, or let's say they have to increase their revenue by 50%. So either it can be increasing the revenue or cutting down the current operation costs, or maybe they have to increase the customer base. They have to increase the customer satisfaction. So we have to sit and talk to the client as to what is their exact pain point, and we have to work out a couple of areas as to what is the expectation or the business objective of this, and that's how we need to proceed. We need to proceed with that.
Okay, so let's take one example. So let's say I want to increase my profit margin by 20%. That's the goal. Now, how you are going to define the success matrices?
Sure. So first of all, I have to know what is happening in the current process. What exactly is the system? What is their current revenue? Why they are not able to match that requirement, whatever they want? What are the roadblocks? What are the obstacles? And what is the process that is happening? In what way? What are the kind of solutions that we can bring, like the technical solutions that we can bring in order to achieve the targets and all those things? Let's take an example so that I can explain it better. Let's take an e-commerce application, right? So they want to increase their target profit by 20%. We can do it in a couple of ways. Either they can increase the customer base, or maybe they can automate certain processes, or they can reduce the operation costs. And we have to talk to the customer, like what is their feasibility. The feasibility also comes into picture here to make sure that we reduce the amount of time that is required to achieve the target. And are there any kind of features that has to be added, which like a competitive analysis can also be done, which is not actually the part of a business analyst, but that is also a good thing to analyze why the customers might churn out, or how to increase the customer base and all these things. And is the non-functional things also come into picture? Is the application intuitive enough, or is the performance good? Is the security aspect of it. So all these things. First, we have to identify what is the gap, right? Where they are right now and what is that they want to be. And to increase their profitability by 20%, what and all we can do to bridge in the gap from the technical perspective. So these things have to be discussed.
Yeah, but still I'm looking for answer. That's my original. You have told me a lot of things, which is pretty good, but I'm still looking for the success criteria or the KPI or the matrices which you are going to use. You might have used any sort of matrices in your project, right? Previous project. So
Yeah.
how do you know? Okay, let me know. Okay, how do you know now this all the business requirement? You might have some KPIs against which you are, comparing them. So this is our baseline, and this is what we have achieved in last 6 months or 1 year or 2 years, right? That was the question.
Yeah, in terms of budget is what you're asking, right? The profitability of the business.
No, in terms of your business requirements. So whether we have achieved whatever has been asked or not. How
Yeah.
we know that whatever the customer is asking, we are able to deliver that.
Yeah, so we do maintain something called as requirement traceability matrix to make sure whatever is the business need, we are going to map it to that, and these are the deliveries that has to be that can be made. So these are the things.
Okay, no problem. Let's move on. Okay, so in your resume, you mentioned about that you are working with a lot of clients in Europe, Australia, Canada, USA. So tell me one challenge which you have faced across all these 4 different geographies with respect to all the stakeholders. So a common challenge or the problem which you have faced across all these multiple geographies.
One of the things is, especially when there are 3 or 4 stakeholders who hold same kind of accountability, right? So we are getting requirements from multiple stakeholders. Let's say just for a region, let's say USA. In that case, what is happening is there is conflicts. The one stakeholder requirement can conflict the other stakeholder, or the one.
So wait. You're telling me that all these 4 geographies, Europe, Australia, Canada, and USA, you have multiple stakeholders from where you are getting these requirements?
Yeah,
You have
each
3
of
or 4 different
the
stakeholders.
each of the country or
Why we don't have a one SPOC? Why you don't have one SPOC? One person.
we had the setup like we had one spot per country or the per continent or the per region.
Yes, correct. That
We
should be
don't
the
have the
ideal.
same. We don't have one person, right? So as a business analyst, we had to deal with all the spokes from that particular region.
Okay, let's come back. Okay, so conflict requirements. So in what way they are conflict? Can you give me an example?
Sure. So one of the things is, let's talk about, so we were working in the recruitment industry, right? And they have their own applications, right? Like for example, in India, we have Naukri. We have so many other things. In their countries, they have their own specific things, and it has its own workflows, right? So first of all, understanding what is required itself is a big thing. Even though, okay, let's say from hiring to the candidate, right from the candidate, sourcing till the hiring, the same process would not be applicable across countries because of their own inbuilt applications or the region-specific applications. So we had to change the workflows. So we had to make it specific to those countries. That was one of the challenge. And now comes the prioritization, right? Which region has to be delivered first? Because we are the same people for across.
Wait. You are telling me about the functional requirements all, but that's not my question. My question is, tell me the one challenge which you face across all these geographies, which you mentioned that multiple stakeholders, like all these geographies have 3 to 4 stakeholders, so they are giving me the conflict requirements. This is what you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So tell me the example with respect to that conflict requirement. Now, whatever you are explaining is more functional wise, that okay, we have this reason, and of course every region will have their unique challenges. That's pretty common. That's nothing with respect to the conflict requirements. That's pretty common across when you're going to work with geographies and different even sub-regions. That's pretty common. So that's not a conflict. That's a part of your requirements only, I would say. Okay, no problem. Let's move on. So tell me about a time when, let's say you propose something to the client or to your product owner or whoever, and then they discarded or they rejected your proposed solution. So how you handle these kind of rejections, and you have faced any kind of these kind of scenarios in the past when people don't like your proposed solution for whatever reason?
I have not come across that exactly, but I have seen this happening with one of the other project in the same organization, where so basically the whatever it was the other way around. So whatever the client had proposed, right, it was not feasible from the technical perspective. So there had to be a lot of discussions, arguments that had to go to the multiple levels of management to make the client understand as to what is feasible and what is not feasible, and finally come up to a conclusion as to what can be implemented, which is a sustainable thing where the both parties, the client and the technical team, had to come on the same grounds. But personally, I've not come across such.
Okay, no problem. So tell me, who is Deepa? Who is Deepa as a person?
You mean professionally? Combination of, yeah.
Both professionally, personally.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to call one of your friend, so what he or she is going to tell about you?
Yeah, let me start from the personal perspective. So a very friendly person, a very jovial person, fun-loving, who's also responsible enough to make sure all aspects of life has to be on a good shape, a health freak, all these things. A person who always want to upgrade their skills professionally, up to the market, a person who likes to network.
No, you don't have to sell me. You're not getting the question. Okay, let me again rephrase it. So if now I'm going to call your husband, for example, or let's say one of your best friend, okay, or let's say one of your colleague. So how they are going to describe you as a person? If I have to ask them, okay, tell me about two good things about you, and two, let's say, something which you think she might have improved on. So what are those things, or how they are going to describe you as a person, as a Deepa? That's the question.
So as Deepa, I can say, a
What they
very
are going
friendly
to,
person. Yeah.
sorry.
Definitely a fun-loving, a friendly person who likes to enjoy life, who wants to travel a lot, create beautiful experiences, to also read a lot of personal development stuffs, because she's a kind of person where she always wants to improve. She cannot get stagnated. She doesn't want to uh, be average or mediocre. She wants to go higher above the ladder. She's going to take risk where she might fail, she might succeed. She's going to eventually learn the lesson either ways. So a person who is very lively and wants to live life to the whole extent.
Okay, and if I'm going to ask them, okay, what are the two things which you don't like about Deepa, and what they're going to tell? Don't like, or let's say something which you think she might work to improve on, something like that.
One thing as a friend is, even though she is serious enough, she's not able to bridge in what she wants and where she is right now. Exactly. Yeah, there is some progress, but she's not able to achieve what she wants. And financially, she's very bad. She needs to learn a lot of financial aspects of life. She has done some bad decisions, even though we told her not to do so. But then, yeah, people might learn their lessons after executing certain things. So she needs to improve a lot when it comes to the financial aspects of it, and also the emotional things. Emotional management is something that she needs to improve upon a lot.
Mhm.
And she's also kind of person where she's very anxious about the future uh, because of different reasons, because of the past things, or because of the future, because of the uncertainty of jobs, because of the financial commitments, all those things. So she either gets to worry too much about the future and just forgets to live in the present.
Mhm. And how good you are in time management? What do you think? Like, you're able to manage work with all the different geographies. I'm sure you might be working in different hours. So will you able to manage all this, or what is the reason you want to looking for a change? This is the one of the reason because you're not able to manage your work or you're feeling little stressed right now. What is the reason that you are looking for a change?
I'm just doing it because I want to be in a sustainable company. I want to work for the long-term projects, and the current organization, there is no much projects at the location that I'm working for. So eventually, I'm asked to either relocate, which is not possible in my case. So there has now the more probability of getting another project in the same location is as good as next to impossible, is what I have figured out. So I have to change. It is not because I want to, it is because I have been made to because of the situations.
So it means like our company is like one of the only company, and you probably also giving interviews to other companies. And if you got I would say financially a good offer letter, so you are going to join them for
Yeah,
sure, right?
definitely.
Okay. Okay, let me ask you something different now. Okay, so let's say that you have one feature. Okay. Hello.
Sorry, let's say
Yeah.
what?
So let's say you got some new requirement, a new feature, which you have to work on. And as a BA, now you need to draw different diagrams for it. There are use cases, there are process flow diagram, there are sequence diagram, there are activity diagrams, there are data flow diagrams, there are ER diagrams, there are BPMN diagrams. So you as a business analyst, how you will identify which diagram to start with?
One of the things that is important is we can begin with a use case diagram to get a higher perspective of it, like what is the system, who are the actors of the system, and what.
Okay, so I want to build a e-commerce platform, as you mentioned, let's say Amazon. So now let's start from there.
Sure.
Tell me.
So
Yeah.
definitely when you talk about Amazon, right? So first of all, what kind of users? I can be a new customer, retail customer. I can be an existing customer, or I can be a store manager, warehouse manager. So what is my login credentials? What is a user access type is one thing,
Let's go for simple user. Let's say I am the just user, the end user.
end
Let's
user.
talk
Yeah.
about from their perspective. Yeah.
So I'll be the customer, right? And there is this system, Amazon. And what and all I can do as a customer, I can register, I can log in, I can search for products. So these are all comes as the different modules or the functionalities, I can say, or the different features. And I can add to cart, I can check out, or I can add it to my favorite. I can add comments, I can review. So some recommendations can be suggested by the system. So system is also one of the other actor. Customer is one, system is one, and the application you can ask is one, right? And there are different features that I've already mentioned, and how I'm going to, interact with different features. And there can be what is a normal flow. That is where the include things comes into picture. Let's say there is some discounts that is applicable. Let's say for some kind of festivals.
We agree. You're not but telling me about the question which I've asked you. You are telling me about all the. I understood that. Oh, you already aware about the complete product lifecycle. That's perfectly okay. But I'm asking you. The question is different.
Yeah. I mean, first I'll go with the use case diagram to get a higher perspective of what the system, and I use different actors and what are the process. And then I'll go about the swim lane diagram where I can draw the process flows, right? Like for example, let me talk about the normal flow. I log in, I search for a product, I add to cart, and I check out. Now, who are all the actors involved here? So that part I'm going to write. Customer is one, the system is one. There can be a payment gateway, that is one. So this I'm going to draw a process flow diagram. And now when I'm doing this, there can be different kind of flows. It can be a positive flow or it can be a negative flow. Where are the errors that can become? Like for example, during checkout, the card is not valid, or during add to cart, the product has gone out of stock. It was there, but it was that by the time it got checked out, it is out of stock. So it can be different reasons, right? So in different kinds of scenarios, what and all can happen, and could be the maybe not. I'll not go that deep, but what are the kind of error messages and all those things. But process flow diagrams was going to give me different scenarios, right? And I can go with the data flow diagrams as well, like what are the different entities and how the data should flow through the system, what are the processes, and what are the data stores, like the database, like inventory management, order management, all those things it comes into picture. These are the major diagrams that have been through, and of course I can go for prototyping as well to just get a rough idea, talking to the client, like how do you want the wireframes to look like, which will give you a better idea, like what are the fields and all those things, which will help us in the flow simulation.
Anything
Yeah.
else? Yeah, that's it.
ER
Hello.
diagram is one that I have not exactly been into, but on a very high level, I have done like what are the entities of the system for this flow, and how the what is the relationship between the entities. Is just like 1:1 or 1:many. For example, one customer can purchase multiple products, and one product can also be purchased by, of course, not the same exact physical product, but the same product, different quantities can be purchased by different customers. So identifying the relationship, talking to the database administrator, and confirming whether the whatever the mapping that we have done is right or wrong. So all these things. So which will give me an idea like what are the tables in the database and how do I query the database. All these things are important for a business analyst. So these are the diagrams that I have pitched.
Okay. Okay. You mentioned in your resume about reduce the card abandonment by 15%, right? So how you track that? So what matrices did you track? How you validate that the improvement was due to your changes?
You're talking about the add to cart?
Yes, yes. In your resume, you mentioned about 15% influence enhancement leading to 15% reduced card abandonment in your previous organization you worked. Conducted customer journey analysis to identify UI friction points, influence enhancement leading to 15% reduced card abandonment. That was you have written in your resume.
Yeah. So um so basically when we asked the customer like what exactly they're facing. So there's something like one of the challenges that they came up with, the customers keep on simply adding to cart, but they don't purchase the products. So all those things. So we had to apply the business rules analysis where we can say if it is more than 30 days and it's still in the cart, then we have to send out a different notifications to the customer.
When we wait, you're not understanding the question, I think. Let me repeat one more time. When you have 15%, how this 15% come? There has to be some numerator, there has to be some denominator, right? This is how we calculate percentage, correct?
Mm-hmm.
When you say I got 60%, yeah. So 60% is how you got 60%. It means that out of 100, you got 60, right? So 60 divided by, that's how you got your 60% marks, right? So this 15% means what? How this 50 number came, and there has to be some numerator, there has to be some denominator, right? And then you multiply it by 100, then you will get some percentage out of it, correct? This is normally we do the percentage. Getting my point?
Yeah.
So when we calculate matrices, there is always a numerator and a denominator. So this is your primary metric, this is your success KPI, right? Let's say card abandonment rate. There has to be something on numerator and something on denominator. Yes or no? This is how we calculate the percentage, right? So that's what the question is. When you mention 15% reduction, so how this 15% came? Okay, no problem. Let's move on. Okay, you also mentioned about RFID tag management, right? In one of the IoT projects in the past. So how do you ensure that this RFID, this tag management feature was scalable across different plant environment? You work for one of the manufacturing client, right?
Yes, yeah. So basically this was for Siemens. So
Yeah, you don't have to mention the name, but that's okay. Yeah. So then how you make sure that this feature is scalable?
So actually regarding the non-functional aspects of it, I've not worked much.
Okay, no problem. Understood, no issues. Okay, let me also browse. Okay, so as a business analyst, have you used to assess how you're going to assess the quality of the requirement? For example, the completeness, the clarity, the testability. You have anything in your mind, like how you are going to make sure that whatever the requirements you are getting is of meeting some quality standards before
Sure.
giving it to the developer?
Yeah. So basically, one of the major things that we have to make sure when whenever the requirements comes to PAs or the POs, it will be blur, right? Which is like a very high level. We need to pitch in, understand, write a detailed level requirements before. I'm not even talking about the user stories. Like for example, e-commerce, when you say add to cart functionality, then what and all can happen, right? You can add it, you can delete, you can modify, all those things, right? Just give me an example, right? We need to make sure that we write a detailed level requirements, and we get to know a lot of, there can be a lot of clarity required for us, like business analysts. We need to approach the correct stakeholder and ask the right questions, like these are the things that we are confused about, or there is no clarity, or there is ambiguity in the requirement. So please do let us know how do we make it unambiguous and all those things. So there has to be multiple iterations of meetings that has to be scheduled with different kinds of things can be done, like interviews, requirement gathering techniques, or there can be surveys that can be conducted, prototyping. There can be focus groups. So depending on what kind of project that we are into and who are the different levels of SMEs, we need to make sure that we have to write a detailed level requirement, and from that we need to create user stories using the invest principles, right? So we talk about it has to be, the user stories has to be independent of each other. It is not like one user story, the first user story had to be delivered, and on based on that only I can even start working on the second user story. Then it should not go in the same sprint. So it has to be independent. It has to be negotiable. When I say negotiable, we need to understand like what is it all about in the entire, from the application perspective, what is this user story is all about and where it is fitting in the application. It has to be valuable. We need to understand what is the impact of this. It has to be testable. It has to be scalable. It has to be small enough, and it has to be estimatable as well. When we ask developers and testers like how many, that is where the story points comes into picture. So how many days or hours you require for this story to be completely delivered. So these are the principles.
Sorry, wait. What? What is story point?
Sorry.
What is story point?
Story point is like the number of hours that is required, right, to deliver. So I have worked in an organization where 6 hours was considered as one story point, 8 hours was considered as one story point. Let's say for this user story, developers and testers put together, they say it requires 3 story points. In that case, it is equivalent to
Wait.
8, something like
Wait. If you are telling me that one story point equal to 6 or 8, whatever, let's say 8, simplicity, then why we need a story point? It's easy for us to tell that this requirement will take 10 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours, rather than telling them that it will need 5 story point or 2 story point. It won't be much easy, right? For someone, it's your delivery manager going to ask you, hey, Deepak, tell me how much time you will need to finish this requirement. You will say 30 hours. That will be easy for him to understand, rather than if you're going to tell, hey, it will take 20 story points or 5 story points or 15 story points, no? And then you will explain that, oh, one story point equal to 6 hours. So if one story point equal to 6 hours, then it's equivalent, right? So what's the use of using story points? Correct.
No, we are not working only on one user story, right? Let's say the sprint, okay, there are so many things. Let's say that we have 5 user stories for the sprint, which is like a 2 week sprint. And I'll take one of the user story and I'm going to discuss with the development and testers, and they're going to say this is the 3 story points, which is equivalent to, let's say, 3 days. Just an example. So we're going to use the Fibonacci series. So with respect to this user story, I'm going to take the other remaining 4 user stories and tell, like, with respect to complexity.
That's my question is, right? If you're telling him that this is equal to 6 days, so it's easy to say 6 days, right? Rather than telling them 6 or whatever the story points or something like that, right? That's the whole question. If you're telling that one story point is equal to whatever the hours, 6 hours, 10 hours, then it's easy to tell them it's hours rather than story points. That's the question. If you know one story point equal to 6 hours, both are same, right? Then we'll say 6 hours rather than we are telling one story point. For this user story will take 60 hours rather than telling them, oh, it will take 10 story points.
That's true, but then there is something called as like for example, let's say that we have been working in a project and we are following Scrum, and now the customer comes and asks that, this is the sprint backlog, like this is a product backlog, we printed a sprint backlog. But then to deliver these 5 features, let's say each feature has 5 user stories, 25 user stories, then how many days do you?
Client don't give a damn about your story points or your anything. He or she just need when you are going to deliver. Simple. He's going to
Exactly.
ask you when you are going to deliver, and you are going to tell them some date or something. It will take 2 months or 3 months or 6 months. So they don't give anything about your story points. Whatever you are working, that's your internal issue. How the client is coming into picture into this all this.
No, because as a team, we should be in a position to estimate how much we can complete in this sprint, right? That is where the story point comes to picture. So what is the sprint velocity? As a team, we can deliver, let's say 30 is a sprint, 30 is the story points that we had delivered in the last sprint. For the we want to backtrack for the last 6 months. This is what we have been delivered. Let's say for the last 6 sprints, for example, as
Okay, no problem. Wait. Let's move on. Let's not get into this. No problem. Let's move on. So
Mhm.
let's say you mentioned about APIs in your resume, right? So can you describe a project where you have to gather the requirement for integrating with a third-party API? So how do you ensure your alignment with the SLAs, your error handling, and different data formats which will come into picture?
Yeah. So when I talk about the API documentation, right? Not
Can you repeat the question? Can you repeat the question first?
Yeah, like when you talk about the API,
No. What the question I've asked? Can you repeat the question?
what are the different SLAs that
Mhm.
for the API things, for the API requirements, basically?
Let me repeat the question. So you have to describe a project where you have to gather the requirements for integrating with your whatever the third party APIs, not your internal developed APIs. And how did you ensure that they are aligned with the SLAs, with the error handling and the different data formats which we have? Yeah. So now you go ahead. You're talking about API documentation, right? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, from the business analyst, what have I done from my perspective, I can explain.
Yeah,
Like
please go ahead.
we're going to the technical aspects of the API. That's what I have done when I worked as a technical business analyst. Like what is the resource parameters, what are the query parameters, how the payload should look like, right? And when this a particular API will be hit on what kind of action on the UI, what is the flow of the system, and once this API when interact with the third-party application, so how should the request should look like, and within what time we should get a response from the third-party system, and how should the response should look like, and what part of the response we need to take, and based on the scenarios, right? Is there something that we can show to the customer, or is there something internally that has to happen so that the process is complete? All these things. And if at all we are not able to, let's say the third party application is down, then in that case, what kind of error messages that has to be shown? Then what kind of tickets that we have to make internally so that it should not impact the customer, which is not a good thing, like all those things.
Okay. Okay, so let's say now you went go live. After go live, how do you ensure that whatever the solution which we have delivered, right, they met the business objective, or they are not met the business objective? So how you know whether whatever the solution which we have delivered, it's is the right solution?
That is where the KPIs comes into picture. So
Which one?
whatever the success metrics that
Like,
maybe increase in the revenue, but that will take a time to understand, right? A couple of weeks or months, or a decrease in the operational costs and all those things. Let's say that, and
but
also,
I'm just asking you about go live. Now I'm not asking about 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, right?
Mhm. Of course, like whatever is the feature, we know what is the why of implementation of a feature, right? So, is the customer able to use the feature? Is it intuitive? Is the performance good? And whatever were the pain points, whatever the manual process that was there, depending on the customer, right? Whatever they had, what are the challenges that they had told us? Are we able to because of the solution? Are we able to overcome those challenges? All those things.
Okay. 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 Just resume. Okay, so you also mentioned about UAT, right? So what if, let's say, if your team or let's say you find some major bug during your UAT, and your let's say release date is just next, let's say after 1 or 2 days or something like that. So what you are going to do about that?
How I'm going to approach that is what you're asking.
Yes, yes, yeah.
So now again, first question is, we just have 2 or 3 days of time for the production release and UAT. There is a bug. Now, what is the kind of bug? Is this very critical? Is this a showstopper? Is this a medium, major? What is
Yeah,
this?
it's a showstopper. Yeah, it's going to
Showstopper.
have a major impact. Yeah.
Now, if it is a showstopper, definitely we can't release, right? It is like a blocker. In that case, we have to do the root cause analysis, understand why this has been there in the picture and when it happened. Is it because when I ask the testers, they can say no, in the testing environment it was working, in the UAT it is not working. So either it can be some kind of infrastructure issues, or maybe when they were testing in the QA environment 2 or 3 days back it was working. In the past 2 3 days only it's broken. Now again test in the QA environment and check whether we are getting the same bug. If the answer is yes, we are getting in the QA now, but then how can you say that it was working? Now, are there any recent developmental activities that has been merged, right? The pull request that has been merged. Is it because what kind of PR? I mean, what is that exact PR? We have to try and figure out. Let's say in the QA environment, it is still not an issue. Only in the UAT it is an issue. Then it can be some kind of infrastructure issues. Is there any kind of, because the APIs can still change. Now we can go ahead and see what is the kind of APIs, what are the differences between the two environment, which API is causing this, and all those things. We have to drill down and see what is the root cause and then fix it accordingly. And it has to be taken on high priority because the release is very close. And if it is a showstopper, then we cannot do this. We cannot release. At the same time, as a business analyst, we have to make sure that we tell it to the client because it has to be not a surprise. But before telling to the client, we have to sit with the technical architect, technical team, and analyze how fast can we do a patch kind of update for this so that the impact can be less. Based on all these parameters, we have to proceed.
Okay. Okay. So let's ask, you have mentioned about SQL. So you have a table. Let's say you have a table name order. Okay. And then we have a columns like column ID, customer ID, order date, and let's say amount. These are the 4 different columns. So can you now write a SQL query to retrieve all the orders placed in the last 30 days with amount greater than 1,000?
Sorry, order table I have order ID, I have customer amount.
Yeah, and customer ID and order date.
Order date, okay.
So it's a very basic query which I'm asking you, that what are the different orders placed in the last 30 days with amount greater than 1,000?
Okay. So I have to say select order ID from order where customer amount is greater than 1,000.
Sorry, okay. So repeat again.
Select order ID from order where customer amount is greater than 1,000.
That's it.
Yeah, but the date is something, right? I'm not sure if date is date itself is there. I think so. So where date is I can give either the date or less than or equal to 30, something like that.
Okay. Okay. Wait, give me a second. Okay, do you know any what's the difference between MVP and MMP?
MVP and
MMP.
MMP. I've not heard about MMP, but MVP is a minimum viable product where it is like the basic level of features.
Okay, you heard about MMF?
MMM, no.
MMF.
No, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay. I think we have covered most of the thing with respect to your resume and overall. So I think then we are good. Okay. Okay, so if we have to ask, let's assume this is your actual interview. In that case, this is actual interview only. But if you have to ask one question to your interviewer, what will be that question?
I'm going to ask like if everything goes well and I get into the project, assuming that scenario, then can you please let me know the demographics of the project, like do we have a product owner, and if yes, then where do they sit? What about because if it's a service-based company, then where the product manager sits, and what about testers and developers? Because in my current project, the testers, developers were across organizations, so collaboration was something which was a challenge, both in terms of demographics and also time and all those things. So how it works here, all those things I'll ask. And which domain is this into? And in what stage we are into with respect to the product life cycle, so that I understand like what can be, the kind of requirements, intensity that we can have, all those things.
Okay, great. Okay, then thank you, Deepa, for joining us today. And friends, we hope you found this session helpful. So please don't forget to leave a comment. Tell us how you find this session, how you find this candidate, and please like this video to show your support and give your feedback. It helps us to create more valuable content for you. And if you're new here, please subscribe and become a part of our CareersTalk family. So until then, see you in the next session. Bye. And Deepa, let's have a chat after this
Sure,
call.
sir. Thank you so
I'll give
much.
you the feedback. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.